I have spent decades working in the garden, and today I'm going to walk you through 9 plants I genuinely wish I had never put into the ground. Not because any of them are unattractive. Every single one of them is legitimately gorgeous. But because together they have cost me real money, strained relationships with neighbors I actually liked, and one of them nearly caused serious harm to someone I care deeply about. If you are planning to put any of these plants in the ground this season, please stop and watch this entire video first. The time you invest right here will spare you years of exhausting, expensive work you never anticipated and absolutely never signed up for. Before we get to plant number 1, drop a comment right now and let me know. Have you ever brought home something stunning from a garden center that turned into a complete disaster once it was in your yard? Just say yes or no, and tell me what state you are gardening from. I read every comment that comes in, and your response genuinely helps me understand how widely this problem is happening across the country. Plant number 1, Trumpet Vine. Large, fiery, orange-red trumpet-shaped blooms. Pulls hummingbirds in from every corner of the neighborhood. Labeled at garden centers everywhere as a fast-growing native climber. That hummingbird promise alone moves this plant off shelves by the thousands every single spring, and honestly, I get it completely. When it is blooming, it is absolutely breathtaking. Year 1, it behaves perfectly. It climbs right where you guide it and delivers exactly the flowers shown on the tag. Year 2, you start spotting new shoots popping up several feet from the original plant. Surprising, but still manageable. Year 3, shoots are cracking through your driveway, threading through the lawn 15 feet out, tunneling under the fence into your neighbor's property. Year 4 and beyond, aerial roots have latched onto your house siding, gutters, and wooden trim. Try pulling them off, and they take the paint right along with them. Shoots are now pushing up through the foundation itself. By this point, the root system has traveled so far and so deep that getting rid of it properly requires professional excavation, not a weekend with a shovel and some determination. Professional trumpet vine removal in the United States typically runs between $500 and $2,000, depending on how long it has been there and how much ground it has covered. That is the real price of the $12 plant sitting at the garden center right now. It behaves especially aggressively in USDA zones 4 through 9, which covers most of the continental United States. In southern zones 7 through 9, the invasive behavior kicks in noticeably faster after planting. The smarter choice, native coral honeysuckle, Loosestrife sempervirens. Same hummingbird draw, beautiful red tubular flowers, completely well-mannered growth habit in zones 4 through 9. Available at most native plant nurseries and increasingly at mainstream garden centers. Same visual category, none of a fallout. One thing to watch for at any garden center. If a tag on a climbing or vining plant says vigorous grower or spreads freely, those are the industry's polite ways of flagging invasive behavior. Ask point blank whether the plant spreads by underground runners. Then watch carefully how the person answers. Plant number 2, yellow flag iris. Tall, refined yellow blooms above clean, architectural foliage. Marketed across America as the ideal water garden plant and a naturalistic solution for wet problem areas. The combination of that classic European iris look and the promise of thriving in soggy spots makes it one of the most reliably purchased plants every spring. And the first season, it is genuinely perfect, beautiful, contained, and exactly what was advertised. Year 2, substantial seed pods appear. Year 3, seedlings are germinating throughout the pond, surrounding soil, and any nearby water feature or drainage area. Here is the detail that makes this plant genuinely dangerous beyond your own property line. The seeds float. Water carries them downstream into natural waterways, wetlands, and neighboring land completely outside your control. Yellow flag iris is now listed as a prohibited invasive species in Oregon, Washington, Wisconsin, Vermont, and additional states. Removing established clumps from a pond edge means excavating the entire root mass, a physical job most gardeners dramatically underestimate until they are already in it. The smarter choice, blue flag iris, Iris versicolor, the true American native equivalent. Same elegant iris flower form, this time in beautiful blue violet. Genuinely well-behaved in water gardens and at pond edges. Supports native pollinators throughout its bloom season. Available through native plant societies and specialty nurseries, and performs reliably in zones 3 through 9. Before buying anything for a water garden or pond edge, search the plant name plus your state plus the word invasive. Many of the most problematic water garden plants, sold freely at American garden centers, are prohibited in some states while remaining perfectly legal for sale in others. If you are recognizing plants in this video that you already have growing in your garden, subscribe right now. This is exactly the kind of specific, honest information we bring every single week. Not what the garden center is motivated to tell you, but what you genuinely need to know before you plant. Plant number 3, purple loosestrife. The tag describes it as a butterfly magnet and a low-maintenance perennial. Both of those statements are technically accurate. Neither is the most important thing to know about this plant. Year 1. The color impact is stunning, just as advertised. Year 2, still beautiful, but with noticeably more plants than you originally installed. And this is where most gardeners convince themselves the spreading is still manageable. One mature purple loosestrife plant produces up to 2.7 million seeds per year. 2.7 million. Those seeds travel by wind, by water, on soil, on shoes, on garden tools, and on animal fur, covering significant ground from the original planting. Each plant that gets established in a natural wetland or waterway pushes out the native vegetation that entire ecosystems depend on. Purple loosestrife has been documented destroying thousands of acres of American wetland habitat across the Northeast, Midwest, and Pacific Northwest. In your own garden, removal means excavating the entire root crown and bagging every piece of plant material before disposal. Any seeds or root fragments left behind will regenerate immediately. It is federally prohibited in Canada and restricted or listed as noxious across numerous American states. The smarter choice, native blazing star Liatris baccata. Same tall purple flower spike. Same butterfly and pollinator draw. Completely well-behaved, native across most of the eastern United States. Supports monarch butterflies and native bees during critical migration windows. Available at most American garden centers and widely through online nurseries. Search any plant name on the USDA plants database before you buy. It is a free government resource that lists invasive status by state for every plant sold in America. 30 seconds of research before purchase prevents years of genuine regret. Plant number 4, English ivy. Sold at every single garden center in America as the definitive solution for shaded slopes, difficult banks, and problem areas where nothing else will establish. Cheap, ubiquitous, and seemingly proven by generations of American homeowners. Year 1. It covers the difficult area exactly as promised. Lush, classic looking, and appearing completely under control. Here is what the tag never mentions. English ivy climbs. It attaches to tree bark and works its way upward, blocking sunlight from the tree's own leaves, while adding enough physical weight to make the tree structurally vulnerable during wind and storms. Trees killed by English ivy are documented in American neighborhoods from Maryland to Oregon. Mature trees that took decades to grow, lost to a ground cover planted to fix a shading problem. Meanwhile, the ground level spread continues into neighboring properties, under fences, across sidewalks, and into natural areas where it smothers every native plant beneath it. English ivy is listed as invasive in 18 American states and the District of Columbia. Removing it from an established slope requires physically excavating every root fragment, often impossible to complete without professional equipment and multiple seasons of dedicated follow-up. The smarter choice, native Pachysandra procumbens, delivers genuine, well-behaved shade ground coverage with attractive foliage and real ecological value for native wildlife. Virginia creeper, Parthenocissus quinquifolia, covers difficult slopes and climbs beautifully without the tree-killing behavior that makes English ivy so destructive over time. Both are native across most of the eastern United States and available at quality garden centers. I want to ask you something directly, and I genuinely want your honest answer in the comments. Is English ivy currently growing somewhere on your property? And did anyone, a nursery worker, a neighbor, a gardening book, warn you about what it does to trees before you planted it or inherited it from a previous owner? Tell me below, because I strongly suspect the answer for most people watching is no, and I want to understand just how many American gardeners are quietly dealing with this problem without realizing what is causing it. Plant number 5. Mint planted directly in the ground. Apparently the most innocent and practical herb imaginable. At some point, almost every American herb gardener thinks about putting mint straight into a garden bed. It seems like the most harmless plant available anywhere. This one surprises people more than almost anything else on this list, because mint's domestic reputation is so thoroughly innocent that when its invasive behavior shows up, it genuinely feels like a personal betrayal. Year 1. Perfectly contained, wonderfully fragrant, useful, and growing right where you planted it. Then the underground stolons begin pushing outward in every direction with zero respect for bed edges, path borders, or the neighboring plants you spent years establishing. Within 2 seasons, mint has worked into every surrounding plant root zone. Within 3, it has crept under hardscape, through lawn areas, and into adjacent beds, where removing it means pulling out and replanting everything it has infiltrated. The stolons snap easily during removal, and every single broken fragment grows into a new plant. Getting mint fully out of an established in-ground planting is one of the most physically demanding and time-consuming tasks in American residential gardening, and it is entirely preventable with one decision made at planting time. The solution: grow every variety of mint, spearmint, peppermint, chocolate mint, apple mint, whatever you like, exclusively in containers. A container with drainage holes placed on a hard surface stops stolen escape completely. You get the full fragrance, the culinary benefit, and the attractive foliage with zero invasive behavior. The container approach costs nothing extra. It prevents everything. Any plant in the mint family, including bee balm, lemon balm, and catnip, shares this spreading tendency to varying degrees. Always research spreading behavior before placing any mint family plant in an open garden bed. Plant number 6. Non-native wisteria. Photographs of wisteria in full bloom stop people mid-scroll on every gardening platform on the internet. And that is precisely the problem. The visual case for planting it is nearly impossible to argue against. Year 1 and 2. It is just as beautiful as every photograph suggested. Then the years of below-ground establishment silently conclude. Non-native wisteria, primarily Japanese and Chinese wisteria, produces woody vines that can reach several inches in diameter, carrying the weight and crushing force to collapse pergolas, damage gutters, pry apart wood structures, and girdle and kill mature trees. The root system mirrors the aerial ambition completely, spreading far beyond the original planting and resurfacing as new shoots across the surrounding landscape. The smarter choice: American wisteria, Wisteria frutescens, or Kentucky wisteria, Wisteria macrostachya. Both deliver the cascading bloom clusters that made wisteria famous in the first place. Both are genuinely well-behaved and manageable by comparison. Native, ecologically supportive, and available through quality nurseries. If nobody ever told you this distinction before you planted it, subscribe right now. You needed this information before planting. And what is coming in the final section matters even more. Plant number 7. Goutweed. Sold under several names: bishop's weed, snow on the mountain, ground elder. And the tag delivers exactly the promise a frustrated gardener most needs to hear. Perfect for that impossible dry shade under mature trees, where every previous attempt has failed. Year 1. It covers the problem area attractively and appears to stay put. Year 2. It is spreading noticeably, but still seems manageable. Year 3. The reality is undeniable. Goutweed has moved through the surrounding lawn into adjacent beds, and in many cases onto neighboring properties. Every removal attempt makes the situation worse, not better. The underground rhizomes break apart during digging, and every fragment left in the soil produces a new plant without fail. Cardboard and deep mulch slow it down. Repeated herbicide applications reduce it. Neither one eliminates it. Professional removal requires excavating the top 12 inches of soil across the entire affected area, removing and disposing of all contaminated soil, then replanting with clean amended mix. This runs thousands of dollars per affected garden bed. Goutweed is listed as invasive in multiple northeastern states and is considered by professional landscapers to be among the most difficult plants to remove completely from any American landscape once established. The smarter choice, Epimedium, commonly called barrenwort. Genuine shade ground coverage with attractive foliage, delicate spring flowers, and real drought tolerance under established trees, and zero invasive tendencies. Takes longer to establish than goutweed, but requires no removal effort for the entire life of your garden. Plant it once, never fight it. Any plant described as thrives in difficult dry shade and spreads to fill area. In the same tag, description warrants immediate invasive research before purchase. Those two characteristics together are the most consistent profile of ground covers that become permanent, expensive landscape problems. Plant number 8. Creeping bellflower. Charming, refined, and apparently perfect for a cottage garden aesthetic. Most gardeners first encounter it growing along a neighbor's fence or in a friend's bed, admire it, ask for a division, and bring it home without any further research. Year 1, gorgeous and seemingly well-behaved. Sometimes 2 full seasons pass before the real behavior becomes apparent. Then both mechanisms fire simultaneously. Fleshy white underground roots extending in every direction, breaking apart during any removal attempt and regenerating from every fragment, and prolific self-seeding from hundreds of seed pods per plant annually, germinating in lawn, gravel, mulch, cracks in hardscape, and any soil within wind dispersal distance. By year 3, a single plant has typically produced dozens of established offspring within a 20-foot radius. By year 5, the original area has become an extensive colony spreading into turf, adjacent beds, and neighboring properties in every direction. Selective herbicide does not work well because the plant shares characteristics with many desirable garden plants. Non-selective herbicide damages everything around it. Manual removal without leaving fragments is technically possible and practically near impossible under real garden conditions. The smarter choice, native harebells Campanula rotundifolia, provide the same delicate nodding bell-shaped purple flowers with genuinely well-behaved spreading habits and real ecological value for native pollinators. Available through native plant societies and specialty nurseries across the northern and western United States. I want a genuine debate in the comments right now. Do you believe American garden centers have a responsibility to warn customers about invasive plants before selling them? Or is that entirely the gardener's responsibility to research independently? There is no clean answer here. Tell me where you stand. Plant number 9, giant hogweed. This is the one I referenced at the very beginning, the plant that nearly hurt someone I love. Pay close attention to every word here, because what is at stake goes far beyond a difficult garden situation or a strained relationship with a neighbor. Giant hogweed produces enormous architectural white flower clusters on dramatic stems reaching 6 to 15 feet tall. It is genuinely spectacular as a structural garden plant. The scale and visual drama are unlike almost anything else available. It occasionally enters gardens through informal plant exchanges, online sales, or misidentification as cow parsnip, a native plant with a similar appearance that is completely safe. Here is what every American gardener needs to fully understand. Giant hogweed sap contains chemical compounds called furanocoumarins. When those compounds contact skin, and that skin is then exposed to sunlight, what follows is not a minor rash. It is a severe phototoxic burn, third-degree chemical burns that blister extensively, can cause permanent scarring lasting for years, and in documented cases across the United States, permanent blindness when sap contacts the eyes before sun exposure occurs. This is not a hypothetical risk for dramatic effect. American Poison Control Centers receive documented giant hogweed burn reports every single gardening season, primarily across northeastern states and the Pacific Northwest. Children are the most frequently affected, drawn by the plant's dramatic size while playing outdoors, with no understanding whatsoever of what they are reaching toward. Giant hogweed is a federally listed noxious weed in the United States. Removal requires full protective equipment, long sleeves, thick gloves, eye protection throughout the entire process. In most situations, removal should be handled by professionals rather than attempted independently by a homeowner who encountered it unexpectedly. It is currently documented in New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Virginia, Oregon, Washington, and additional northeastern states. If you encounter a very large white-flowered plant with deeply cut leaves and distinctive red-mottled hollow stems that you cannot positively identify, do not touch it. Contact your state's Department of Agriculture for identification assistance before any removal is attempted. The smarter choice, native Angelica, Angelica atropurpurea, delivers the same bold, tall, architectural presence with large white flower clusters. Completely safe, native to the eastern United States, and actively supports native pollinators. Available through native plant specialists for gardeners who want that dramatic scale without any of the danger. The 3 questions that protect you at every garden center. This video should not just teach you about 9 specific plants. It should give you a research habit that catches every problematic plant you will ever encounter going forward. Question 1. Does this plant spread by underground runners or rhizomes? This one question identifies every spreader on this list and every spreader not on it. A nursery worker who cannot answer it confidently is a signal to research independently before purchasing. Question 2. Is this plant considered invasive in my specific state? The USDA Plants database at plants.usda.gov provides free invasive status information organized by state for every plant sold in America. Bookmark it on your phone today. Use it at the garden center before your wallet comes out. 30 seconds of research before purchase prevents years of regret after it. Question 3. What does this plant look like in year 3, not year 1? Year 1 appearance is what the tag photograph shows. Year 3 reality is what experienced gardeners actually know. Native plants for your specific region are almost always the safest available choice. They evolved alongside your local ecosystem, support local wildlife, and behave predictably across American garden conditions. The Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center's Native Plant Database at wildflower.org provides free native plant recommendations organized by zip code for every American gardener in every state. Almost nobody knows this resource exists, and it is one of the most useful free tools in American gardening. If any of these plants are already in your ground, the single most important thing to understand is this. The earlier you act, the less everything costs. A plant removed in year 1 costs an afternoon. The same plant removed in year 3 costs a full weekend of hard work. Removed in year 5, it costs professional fees, multiple seasons of follow-up, and potentially neighbor relationships if it has already crossed your property line. For any spreading plant that has been in the ground more than 3 years, get a professional assessment before attempting removal yourself. The root systems of established spreaders extend significantly further underground than the visible growth above suggests. Incomplete removal almost always produces more vigorous regrowth because the established root system now directs all its stored energy into fewer stems. And if any plant on this list has already reached your neighbor's yard, have that conversation before they bring it to you. Offering to coordinate removal and cover the cost of professional remediation is significantly less expensive than the relationship damage and potential legal exposure of allowing a known invasive to continue spreading season after season. Every plant on this list was put in the ground by a gardener who was trying to create something genuinely beautiful. The problem was never the intention. The problem was incomplete information at the moment of purchase, and that is entirely fixable starting with the research habits we just covered together. Subscribe to this channel right now. Share this video with every gardener in your life before the planting season fully opens. Drop a comment and tell me which of these 9 surprised you the most, and tell me what plant you personally regret putting in the ground, because your answer in the comments today might be the single most important piece of information someone else reads before they make a decision they cannot easily undo. Your garden deserves the truth. I will see you in the next video. Do the research, choose the right plant, and garden with confidence, not regret.